Welcome to From Paper to Automation Productivity, modernizing travel and expense in utilities. When storms hit, when crews head out for mutual aid, or when big projects like solar farms come online, one challenge often hides in plain sight: managing travel, expenses, and compliance. Travel and expense management is the quiet engine behind utility resilience and productivity. Today we'll explore how utilities are moving from paper-based headaches to automated efficiency. Joining me are Jeremy Amos, our utility operations expert here at Phoenix Business Consulting, and Karina Sanchez, Director of Product Marketing for Regulated Industries at SAP Concur. Let's dive in and see how automation powers resilience.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is David Szymanski. I'm with Phoenix Business Consulting, and I'm going to be your moderator for today, for this session. And today we're going to talk about something we see all the time in the utility space. It's the everyday challenges around receipts, mileage tracking, expenses when your teams are out in the field. So utilities is a very unique industry because of all the workload that it's on the utilities. And the old manual ways of managing expenses, it's difficult. It's really hard to do that. So that's where SAP Concur and us, Phoenix, is really going to make a difference for you. We're going to walk through how Concur can help utilities make receipt capturing easier with mobile. You can just snap a picture of your receipt, automatically track the mileage without really doing any guesswork of the mileage. So it's going to cut down on the administration and any type of errors. So really, it's in improving the transparency and for finances and in your operational teams. So at Phoenix Business Consulting, we work closely with utility companies, and we understand the industry very well and know different pain points that you go through. So today's agenda, we're going to do, before we start, we'll do a quick company overview. We'll talk about the status quo. Why is T&E broken? What are we looking for and how can we, improve upon that? The digital shift, mobile first. That's part of AI as well. And compliance, cybersecurity, that's very important to utilities, and it's building that trust. Mobile resilience and financial control. And then we'll do some takeaways, and then we'll close with some Q&A. And I do want to say we have some panelists with us today, and any questions you have, if you can not put it in the chat, please, if you can just put it in the Q&A section, we'll be able to monitor that and answer any type of questions that you have. So Phoenix Business Consulting, just kind of a quick overview, who we are and, what we can offer. We're a premier provider of all SAP products and consulting services. So we offer a very wide range of products. And here's an overview of our services. We're very proud to say we have over 350 plus customers and over 300 SAP consultants. And we're engaged with both the public sector and commercial enterprise. This next slide talks about Phoenix Business Consulting as a gold partner of SAP. And what that means is a gold partner means we meet the highest standard criteria for expertise in the SAP world. We have a very strong team in the US and globally. All our consultants here have at least 10 years of experience. And we're here to talk about Concur, which is going to be this little circle right over here. So this is kind of an overview of all the various different products that SAP has, and Concur is part of that suite of products. Also, too, Phoenix Business Consulting is awarded the cooperative contracts. What that does, it allows Phoenix to offer public sector customers a faster, compliant, and really procurement-friendly path to SAP and Concur services. So what are the benefits of having a cooperative contract? It's faster procurement, pre-negotiated competitive pricing. That's very key. And access to all the vendors that are vetted through the cooperative contracts. So these are some of the contracts that Phoenix Business Consulting holds. This next slide is just showing you some of the utilities that we have implemented and have relationships with and throughout the years. So these are all some of the premier utility companies that we work with. And then we're going to meet our experts. So we're very lucky to have Karina Sanchez. She is the SAP Concur Director, Director of Products. She has over 13 years of experience supporting regulated industries. And our own Jeremy Amos, 27 years in SAP focused in HR technology, experience with over a dozen utilities, probably way more than that. And then myself, David, I'm the SAP Concur Delivery Lead with Phoenix Business Consulting. And now we're going to get into some kind of questions and kind of have a very open diagram and forum so we can talk freely. And we have our experts on the panel today. So first question out of the gate is, what are some of the challenges you field crews face today?
I guess I'll start here. And maybe I'll do just a little bit of a preamble in that, we have a variety of different folks on the phone from different types of utilities, and not all utilities are created equal. If you're in water, you have one set of issues. If you're in electric, you have a different set. If you're in, telecom, you might have a different set of challenges. But many of those challenges, many of those types of organizations have, common thread across them. And even those who are in the public side of the house, versus maybe it's a co-op, or maybe it is a commercial utility or investor-owned utility, again, slightly different challenges across each one, slightly different needs. But again, common thread of this notion of needing crews to be out in the field, to be out delivering services, repairing pipelines, fixing substations, building new. And then what we see a lot on the commercial side is, this continued push across, state lines and expanding into new geographies, which is getting crews further and further away from home for longer periods of time. And of course, it gets aggravated by storm responses and things like that. So I think one of the things that's really challenging here is, utilities do resist change, like most organizations, and I think there's some slowness, particularly because of some of the accounting rules specific to utilities that have to be followed. And so there's this, kind of embracing of, hey, I've got this great paper process, or this, digital form process that someone's manually keying in, and you love that process and it works. But I think more and more, we really do need to see greater connection, greater automation, greater enablement of the crews in the field, so that we don't have issues with lost receipts, late submissions, and that sort of thing. Then on the finance side, there's still challenges with delayed reporting, misalignments to budget, compliance headaches. We talk about FERC or NARUC or something like that. We need to make sure that reporting is accurate and timely. And really that's where we see the biggest challenges today.
Karina, want to add to that?
Absolutely. So to Jeremy's point, across different utilities, across excuse me, across
Mhm.
both public and private, there's still this very human element of being able to meet crews in our field where they're at. And the reality is that the further that you are from home, the more that you're on the road and maybe responding to an emergent situation, it's going to get sticky. There's going to be friction. You're going to have paper receipts. And the nature of those is that they get crumpled up. They're super likely to get lost, or maybe in a rush, you forget to ask for one. And a good tool should be able to anticipate this. It should be built to meet that traveler within their reality, exactly where they're at. So this could look like a tool that makes it easy to capture a receipt digitally instead of having to carry a bunch of receipts. Or an even better experience is having an ecosystem so that these receipts automatically flow in. And the reason why this is important is that this doesn't just make life easier for the field. The more that you can reduce friction and frustration on the front end in the field experience, it clears the path for the rest of the process to be smooth, all the way through the back end. So, something as common as a missing receipt, that can actually translate into a finance team spending weeks trying to reconcile expenses and things not quite matching up, or not knowing exact what expense to tie back to a specific storm, maybe a specific project. So, the more that you have these gaps, right? Gaps in the process of capturing the receipt, of not losing them, of tying them to a project. As each phase continues, if you're missing documentation, your risk for an audit skyrockets. So the pain, the limitations of a manual system isn't just about a slow reimbursement cycle. This goes as far as impacting financial accuracy, regulatory compliance, and overall operational readiness. So while the field may pay the initial price of a slow system, eventually the entire organization feels the pain.
Thank you, Karina and Jeremy. That was very insightful. Interesting with the compliance and everything. And next question to ask is, what does the automation system look like today?
So that's a good one, and I would say mobile first. But one of the things that beyond mobile first, which I guess is maybe a little bit of a played out statement these days, it has to be mobile first with machine learning, AI, all of the fancy technology words to make things easier for folks. And I just think about some of my own travels around, which is far less complicated in some cases than some of these guys who are out in the field. Is I'm buying grabbing something at a gas station for a drink or my lunch. I just need to take a picture of that receipt, and I don't want to have to look at it again. The system really does need to interpret that receipt, fill in all the fields for me, and maybe all I'm going to do is just validate it at the end of the day and hit accept. One of the things that Karina mentioned just a minute ago was this whole notion of even an integrated ecosystem of vendors, right? So, if somebody has to take, maybe they had a late start and the crew had to go off and took the trucks and went on site, and you had to leave late because you weren't feeling well. You have to take an Uber. Well, guess what? If you link your Uber account um, to Concur, that receipt will automatically load into your expense report. Or you're staying at a hotel, that hotel receipt can automatically fill into your expense report. So this whole notion of, and I use this phrase a lot, is this unencumbered workday. I should be able to spend as least time with these administrivia as possible because I have real work to do. And the system needs to be able to capture that data, make sure the right work orders are associated to it. It needs to handle the per diem rules. If I'm flipping states, it needs to handle that because ultimately I'm working on a hurricane response or I'm on a construction site or I'm doing those things. System needs to deal with those things for me. I don't want to have to worry about it.
What you had mentioned, Jeremy, was the hotel and the automation of that. And I know the itemization of that is very key too, because that can be very cumbersome with the itemization of a hotel. And if it can capture that, that's powerful.
But it's so annoying to have to break out the taxes and kind of add that stuff together when you have 20 lines of taxes on your receipt. So yeah, it's nice that
Very true.
it
Yeah.
takes care of those things for me.
Karina, did you want to add something to that too as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, I think you would be hard pressed to find someone who wants to spend more time in a travel and expense app. And in some ways, for as much as design and the user experience is top of mind, the best user experience is the one where it doesn't require you to be in the app, where it doesn't require that manual intervention. To Jeremy's point, if you've ever had to manually break out a hotel folio, it's not a good use of time, right? It's not value added. So a great app should keep this in mind. That should be the guiding principle. A user should be able to have their information flow into the app from this ecosystem. And then in the event that something falls out of that, The app should allow for a quick, easy capture of the expense. All of the related details are captured and flagged, and then move on. Move on with what is mission critical for them. And this gets back to that point of where's the friction? Removing that friction from the end user experience, all while still providing the back office with the visibility that they need. And what's interesting is trying to solve for both and being able to do so in a compliant manner. Because sometimes the idea of convenience of making things easier and faster can seem like it comes at a cost of, but am I doing it right? And within SAP Concur, compliance is baked into the user experience. So for example, if an expense is incurred and you use Expense It to read the receipt instantly, an AI model reads what's on the receipt, matches it to policy, and can flag if, oh, this looks like this is above a certain spend outside of the range of per diem. It's being able to almost outsource that piece of thinking that can make expense reporting a bit tedious, really allows for not just a better user experience, but more accurate, more real-time visibility for the back office.
Very good point. And with audit control, with matching the receipts with the audit, that saves a lot of time. Very well. Thank you, Karina and Jeremy, for that. That was very insightful. Next question for our panel. So the teenie, how does travel and expense fit into the compliance and cyber risk?
Talk about compliance, and I think Karina brings up these great points that, and this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning about a little bit of the process being broken in so many companies where you're juggling state rules. You have to know the per diem per state. Maybe there's obviously there's other things going along with the reporting, making sure the right work orders are attached. In some cases, you have to deal with I'm going to say prevailing wage and other things associated that are outside of the world of time and expense or travel and expense. But all of these things are just getting more and more complex, right? And for those organizations who are expanding in their geographies, so maybe it's telecom or maybe it's electric utility or something like that, or you're in power gen, your footprints get larger and larger, and those compliance risks just get more and more complicated. And again, we can't and shouldn't, as kind of back office professionals, shouldn't really expect the field workers to be able to handle all that and be able to cover all those things. So the system really does need to cover it for you. But as we are automating these things, we're putting them into the cloud, we're expanding that footprint there. We are dealing with people data, right? And people data, even the smallest amount of people data is valuable. In the marketplace, even just a list of names and emails, can have thousands of dollars of dark web revenue associated to it. So we need to keep that stuff locked down. And then in this particular case, we are dealing with financial transactions, right? So trying to make sure that we're meeting all these compliance needs, we're automating these things, we're keeping the data intact, but also making sure that it's very tightly secured. You're dealing with mobile devices, you're dealing with people in the field. That stuff is important that it be sound technically, and that it's be fully protected.
Thanks, Jeremy. Karina, want to add to that too as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you think of where would a bad actor prioritize spending their time, unfortunately, any organization that's related to infrastructure, to national security, are prime targets. And we're seeing an increasing number of these threats. So it's super important to be proactive in choosing a solution that accounts for this, a solution that has a hardened security environment and is continually monitoring and adjusting based off of the direction that threats are moving in. And this is one of the biggest advantages that Concur has is there's a huge investment made into our security, not just offerings, because it's really baked into how our solutions are developed. We have more security professionals than some competitors have employees because of the sensitivity of data. So this is reflected in how our environments are architected. In CCPS, for example, being architected to meet NIST 853 standards, in our processes, in minimizing manual handling of data, ensuring that that data in environments like CCPS are residing within the US, enforcing security controls and continuous monitoring. And for Concur to take on the cost of continuous monitoring means that customers can rely and ensure that they can rest easy knowing that it's covered and it's an expense that they don't have to take on.
And just to add to that, one more thing, this app also fits within your mobile device management framework, right? So your MDM tools, and so your IT departments can actually set it up to where not only is your MDM solution validating that the remote device is secure and then it meets all the right protocols, but then they can also push this app out to the user and make sure that the right servers are set up, the right authentication protocols. They can push that all out to the user, and the user doesn't have to worry about it. Now, if you choose to let them put it on their personal devices, you're obviously welcome to do that, and that also stays secure. And there's protocols to manage that, but so that the application is really set up in such a way that it can handle the full breadth of the threat positioning of your organization. And to Karina's point, it's just getting more and more, particularly with infrastructure like utilities. So it's important that flexibility is built into the tool.
Great. Really good way to talk about that and discuss that, because the security is a big topic and there's a lot of risk involved with that too as well. So really appreciate that, Karina and Jeremy. Really insightful. Very much. All right, so moving on, we're going to move on to another topic is mobility, resilience, and the financial control. So in the big picture, what is the big picture? I mean, how is it impacting modernizing travel and expense?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a common theme here, and ultimately the job of a utility, the core function of a utility, is just getting harder. And it's getting more complicated, right? So that operational resilience to be able to handle the different situations that are coming, either maybe it's an expansion, maybe it is infrastructure hardening, maybe it is dealing with a storm, who knows what that is. Those activities across all the utilities that I've been speaking with have becoming more and more frequent, right? And so your ability to quickly adapt and be able to get your teams out there is critical. And it's not just about having, oh great, we've got this tool, right? Your employees have to be along for the ride. And if they need a what do you call it, an advance, you need to be able to get them that advance quickly, and you need to be able to approve that quickly, and then you need to be able to capture that information and be able to reconcile against that advance. All of these things have to be able to move quickly. And what you don't want are your crews saying, I'm not going to go out on the job, or I'm not going to volunteer for service in another state because I don't know when I'm going to get paid. I can't afford that, right? That shouldn't be an issue. You don't want administrative things holding you back. And so really we need to kind of break those walls down and create that level of resilience around the time and expense category. And all of that, right, while still making sure your capital project tracking, your reimbursements, that sort of thing are all being taken care of in the background.
Karina, do you want to add to that too as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, something that sticks out to me is that there's, I would say, an intro level to managing expenses is making sure that they're accurate, that they're compliant, that you're able to reimburse on time. And yes, a good solution should absolutely be able to offer that. But in this environment where we're under pressure to do more with less, and there's such significant pressure to reduce costs, expense data can actually be a real gold mine of data that can be leveraged to find cost savings opportunities. So, with automated reports, when you have a system that's collecting trends that you're able to see, hmm, Maybe I'm spending a certain amount with this hotel. Can I negotiate a better rate? Or are there certain areas where we're going out of policy, over budget, certain ways that we're overspending? The more that you're able to analyze these patterns that are coming up, the more you're able to anticipate uh, project costs as they arise, negotiate with real data to be able to substantiate your case. It's it goes from being a kind of a cost center of having a tool to manage an operational need to this gold mine of data that can help you run your business more efficiently. And that piece is really so critical for financial resilience, right? It's an opportunity to take something that you already have access to and have that translate into returns back to the organization.
Two really interesting points with the financial control of that too, as well. So Karina and Jeremy, very insightful, very good information. So what matters most going forward? So some of the key takeaways from this, and if you anybody out there, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We'll be monitoring those, and then we'll start opening up to Q&A. But some of the key takeaways, is the receipt capturing. I hear that a lot. Reducing the errors, the administration work, as Jeremy, you had mentioned. It's giving it the utility teams, a faster, much cleaner way to manage their related expenses. The built-in
Yeah.
mileage tracking ensures, I heard the built-in mileage. That's big. That's using the AI technology. And it's going to help utilities avoid all the underpayments and improve the audits. That's really big in the industry.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, your crews are not accountants, right? And
Right.
they need to get on with their day. But I think one of the things that a lot of both accounting teams and HR teams, depending on who manages your T&E, have to reconcile is that there's lots and lots of data out there that shows self-service is more timely and more accurate, right? But at the same time, again, they're not accountants either, right? So it needs to be easy, it needs to be thoughtful, it needs to be quick, right? And today's modern tools, and especially Concur, do make that easy. And you can enable those folks, you can give them the self-service, you can give them the power, and you can let the system do the work for you and still be able to be compliant. And then the other piece we haven't really talked about is offline, right? Storms don't wait for Wi-Fi is kind of the joke, I guess, but
That's true.
I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere. Maybe I'm building a substation, or maybe it's a water treatment, or whatever it is, or working on a reservoir, and I'm not going to have internet access. The thing still needs to work. And I think those are really the key pieces. The automation, the self-service, and the offline, at least for me.
Very good. Yeah. And Karina, did you want to add anything to that as a takeaway?
Yeah, so I would add to that, in addition to all that automation offers that Jeremy just covered, it's also protection. It protects your employees, it protects financial integrity. Because the outcome of this is that compliance becomes something that's built in, that's automated. It doesn't become this burdensome administrative tasks. It's something as simple as just following the process, following the prompts within the application. And second to that, don't underestimate the insights that are buried in that expense data. It really is such a gold mine for allowing your finance teams to make better decisions.
And I'm just looking at the time check. We're doing really good on time. And we have a question that came in. I think this might be more geared for Jeremy, is how does this integrate with the ERP system?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Without getting into too much detail on a call like this, I think one thing that's important is it's pretty seamless. I've been a customer and a consultant of Concur and a user, I guess. And what's nice is even in ECC SAP, but definitely as you go into, for those of you interested in S4, it actually has almost like seamless integration. So what does that mean? It means that your cost objects, those things that are critical for your capital reporting, your funds and grants and all that sort of thing, are fed into Concur so that people are actually, putting their expenses to the right cost objects, the right capital accounts, the right work orders. And then, so when the expenses pass through, those also then pass through seamlessly back into accounting. And because they're using validated objects, the data is coming in from the ERP into Concur. That means the data coming back out of it is much higher quality. And so that's critical for those folks who have a separate payroll system. Again, the system can absolutely pull the core financial data from your S4 environment and send that to your Employee Central Payroll or whatever other payroll system you have. So you get to pick whether you want that to be an AP payment or do you want that to come to payroll. And that flexibility is really nice. If you use a third-party system, obviously you can integrate that. There's the Concur connector that kind of sits and kind of brokers all of those conversations. So you don't have to be an SAP S4 or EC payroll customer. If you have any product, it can integrate, but obviously the tighter integration with SAP's family of products.
Interesting. Yeah, and then speaking just more from a functional perspective, to add to that, those cost objects that you're referring to, those are all customizable fields within Concur, and those are all configurational things. And you can have those as required. You can have those as optional fields, drop down values. There's just an immense amount of custom fields that integrates with that too, as well. And then another question came in just a few seconds ago is this customer, they're upgrading to S4 and they want to know when can they do the Concur piece with their upgrade to S4.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of the delicate dance of coordinating your roadmap and figuring out how things fit together. Ultimately, Concur is a relatively flexible tool, meaning that you can kind of place it where you like. So if you want to do it before your project, you want to do it after your project, you want to do it during your project, all of those things work. Like there's really not any particular criticality of around timing because it can stand alone. One thing I would just advise folks is, taking on too many things at once, right? So if you are going to go live with S4 and you are going live with Concur, you probably want to try to time that go live relatively close together. Because what you don't want to do is train up all of your workers on one process and one set of accounting objects and things like that, just to have them have to flip, a week later or a month later, right? So think about that from a user perspective. So if you can kind of peg those together, that's great. But if you're just starting your journey and your journey is maybe like a year and a half long, the Concur implementation is significantly shorter. You could get value from Concur right away. And then that transition when you bring up S4 is going to be relatively smooth. But again, just think about the change impacts on your user. That's really the biggest decision process rather than a technical one, at least in my opinion.
No, I very well said. I like what you said about that because it's true. It's you want the user experience to be a pleasant one, and you want the buy-in to be pleasant and good. So it's a matter of when you do it and how you do it, and it all integrates. So very good point, Jeremy. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And WalkMe is available as well for Concur, and that's huge in terms of managing the experience. And so the exercise of like how you submit an expense report, how you get an advance or something like that, all of those processes will stay intact regardless of what platform you're on. So and WalkMe helps kind of guide the user along the way.
It certainly does. Yes.
Yeah.
It looks like that was the questions that we had, and hopefully we gave you some good insight and some good answers with that. And Jeremy and Karine, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be our experts in discussions with this. Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us today. And we hope we gave you a little clearer look how SAP Concur can make life a little bit easier for utility companies, especially when it comes to handling the receipts. We talked a lot about the receipts and the mileage and the compliance. So hopefully that, made a little bit insightful. And then I wanted to say on behalf of Phoenix Business Consulting, we're here to support you. Any questions you may have, or if you want to discuss your organization needs, just reach out, and don't hesitate to reach out. And truly thank you for your time today. And if you have any questions, please reach out. And then this QR code that you see on the screen to the right, if you could just take a snapshot of that, and it's just a survey. If you want to take that survey, it takes a couple minutes to do, and your feedback is always welcome. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks for the time, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Utilities power our homes and businesses, but travel and expense management powers the crews who make it all possible. From storm response to major capital projects, modernizing T&E isn't just about paperwork. It's about resilience, compliance, and control. A big thank you to Jeremy Amos and Karina Sanchez for joining us, and to you, our listeners, for tuning in. This podcast was created in partnership with Caresoft Technology Corporation. Caresoft offers expertise in federal, state, and local government and education with IT products, services, and training through our partners and procurement contracts. For more information, contact us at concur@caresoft.com. Until next time, stay resilient, stay connected, and keep driving automation forward.